Cześć i chwała bohaterom. Welcome back, Internet. Today I want to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. My ancestral homeland, my second home, Poland. Now today is a rather bitter anniversary for Poland. And for those of you who actually paid attention in history class, you may realize that today is the 78th anniversary of the Nazi Germany invasion of Poland and the beginning of World War II. And for those of you who really didn't pay attention in class, don't worry, you didn't miss much. Pretty much all they'd say about it is Germany invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939 and started World War II. Now this lack of information has helped give rise to some misconceptions and myths. And being an American of Polish ancestry, I got to hear all about those misconceptions and myths, usually in the form of someone poking fun at me for my Polish heritage. But today I'd like to shed a little truth on some of these myths that have been going around. One of the common misconceptions I've heard is that Poland was just a pushover. The Germans rolled right over them, and they had hardly a fight at all. Well, the truth is, Poland fought like hell. But a little background on Poland may help you understand a little better what they were up against. So, in 1795, Poland was partitioned by three of its neighbors and completely wiped off the map. There was no more Poland. And they didn't regain their independence until after World War I, over 120 years later. And by the time of the German invasion in 1939, they've only had about 21 years to put their country back together. Now, that's not a whole lot of time to fix 120 years of foreign occupation from three different powers. Also, Poland's allies, France and Britain, had convinced Poland not to mobilize their army out of fear that it would provoke Hitler into attacking. And by the time it was obvious that Hitler was going to attack, there just wasn't enough time left for Poland to fully mobilize. So they were caught somewhat unprepared. And when Germany did invade, they invaded with a full 3/4 of their army. So Poland is here outmanned, outgunned, all alone. And just over 2 weeks after Germany invades, the Soviet Union invades from the east. And now Poland's fighting a two-front war against two larger opponents, and they're still all by themselves. When Germany attacked Warsaw, the capital city, the Poles defended it so stubbornly that the city was almost completely destroyed before the Germans finally captured it. And the Polish government never surrendered. They escaped Poland and formed a government in exile in France. And by the time it was all said and done, it took Germany 33 days to conquer only half of Poland because the Soviets conquered the other half. Now, 33 days might not seem like much, but let's compare that to the German invasion of France. France had a larger and modernized army. France was not fighting alone. They had the British Expeditionary Force, as well as Polish soldiers who had managed to escape from Poland without being killed or captured. France has an ocean on the other side of it, so they don't have to worry about fighting a two-front war. France was also fully mobilized. They knew it was coming. They were ready for it, supposedly. But France was depending on their Maginot Line, a string of fortified defenses along their border with Germany. And they were counting on that to stop any German invasion. Well, the German blitzkrieg, instead of trying to go through the Maginot Line, went around it. The Germans went through the Netherlands, In Belgium, they dropped paratroopers behind the Maginot Line. And when the Germans got to Paris, the French surrendered their capital without firing a single shot to defend it. And after 36 days of fighting, the French government surrendered. The Polish government escaped to England to continue fighting on. But France was conquered, all of France, by Germany alone in 36 days. So let's recap here. Poland is outmanned and outgunned. They're fighting on two fronts against two larger enemies all by themselves. Their army is not fully modernized. And it takes Germany 33 days to conquer half of Poland. And then there's France, who's not fighting alone, has a larger and more modern army, doesn't have to worry about fighting on a second front, and they surrender after 36 days. So I think it's safe to say that Poland was not a pushover. And now I want to talk about probably the most common myth that I've heard about the German invasion of Poland in 1939, and that is Polish cavalry on horseback charging against German tanks. Now, most people hear this, and one thing they think is, Poles were still using cavalry? How backwards is that? Well, the truth is, in 1939, everybody was still using cavalry. There were no fully mechanized armies until the end of the war. And also people are thinking, oh, they charged tanks on cavalry? How stupid. Well, it never happened. What really happened was that, well, Poland would use their cavalry to great effect against German infantry. And there was one particular battle between Polish cavalry and German infantry where some Polish cavalrymen and their horses were killed. And then, long after the fighting was over, some German tanks are rolling through the battlefield, and someone takes a picture. And they take a picture of German tanks, and around them are dead Polish cavalrymen and dead horses from the earlier battle with the infantry. And the Nazis, not being ones to waste good propaganda, take this picture and start saying, look at these inferior Poles. They're so stupid. They charged on horseback against German tanks. They deserve to be conquered. They're so stupid. Well, if you believe that that actually happened, congratulations. You fell for Nazi propaganda almost 80 years after the fact. But don't worry, you now know better. So that's my spiel for today. I hope you found it enlightening and possibly even a little interesting. Anyways, that'll be all for now. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.